What's up, dude? Welcome back to Quick Thoughts. Today, I would like to go over side quests in gaming because really, I've been playing a lot of games that have quite polarizing side quests. Currently, I've been playing a lot of Final Fantasy 16 and Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and I think that these games are like on the polar opposites when it comes to side quests. I kind of wanted to also talk about how side quest design has evolved over the years, particularly in Zelda. But overall, side quests are a pretty interesting topic because a lot of people either love them or completely dismiss them. I kind of fall somewhere in the middle where, I enjoy doing them. I do them a lot. I don't do all of them, though. I don't try to go out of my way to 100% every single game I play. I just want to get the most out of it. And sometimes for me, that's not always doing all the side quests because, when I play a game, I typically am much more involved into the main story than anything else. And beyond that, I will definitely look at the side quests. I will definitely try them. But they're not exactly what I would call the most fun part of any given game. A lot of the time, side quests can just be like a little fetch quest. You bring an item somewhere, you bring it to the guy, you do the thing. Usually those are not too intrusive, but not too interesting either. I don't doubt you for not having an issue with them. I also don't blame you for not wanting to do them at all. They're a little inconsequential, I would say. But sometimes side quests can shake up the gameplay in really interesting ways. They can bring you to places that you never would have been before. They can give you items that will be super useful for the coming encounters. And they can give you insight into the world that you never thought of before. And they can do so many amazing things. They can give you stories from other minor characters. They can shed light on other parts of the world. Usually you'll be fighting monsters and creatures along your way, so it gives you more chance to level up and get stronger. And sometimes you'll get exclusive skills from certain quests. And that's pretty invaluable when you're playing a long game. That can get pretty fucking hard at the end, and you gotta really level up to become the best you can be. But that takes me to Final Fantasy 16, because honestly, well, I want to make a full video on Protagonist about 16 eventually. But I've been kind of toying around in my mind of how I would go about doing that and taking notes and maybe even starting the script. But the side quests in that game, I don't think they're bad. I don't think they're terrible. They're just kind of mediocre. And they can be a bit boring. A lot of them can be. So the quests in 16, they have a lot of good moments. I'm super glad that I did all of them because there is so much to the world, to certain minor characters, and like certain minor aspects of the world that you didn't really think of and don't really get the spotlight in the main game. And I think that the quests in 16 do a really good job of fleshing those areas out. Now, there are some issues. They're very low quality, like the actual quality of the cutscenes and stuff. Now, that's kind of par for the course for side quests, but actually, sometimes you'll get full cutscenes in side quests, which is very cool. I quite like that a lot. It's not always like that. A lot of my problems with the side quests come from the lack of variety in gameplay in 16 in general, because it's really all the same hack and slash gameplay throughout the entire game. It's a very good combat system with a lot of depth and a lot of customization, but it's just missing certain things that would put it over the edge for me. Now, this is something I could go into in a full video, but I'm just gonna talk about it very briefly here. So in the Tales of series, there are certain side quests or certain events that will allow you to gain certain skills, whether it's from an item or like depending on what game you're playing, it'll give you a certain like skill or item that you wouldn't be able to get otherwise, and that would give you tangible gameplay benefit. And I feel like a skill system is really missing in 16 because in the Tales games, your skills were like movement speed. Well, that was like progression attributes, but in Tales games, you had skills like your attacks will heal you, your attacks will fill up MP, like dodging will heal you, and like certain things that affected the gameplay enough and really mixed the action game side with the JRPG side. And I'm not saying that 16 doesn't mix action and RPG well, because it's a pretty scaled back RPG, and we've seen those like forever. Like Paper Mario is like one of the most famous and most loved JRPGs around, and it's very scaled back. It's a low numbers RPG. You don't really, as far as I'm okay, so I haven't played Thousand Year Door, but I don't know about actual level ups in Thousand Year Door, but it's very much it's about the customization of the badges, it's about setups. It scales back the ideas of like a very serious, hardcore, in-depth JRPG like something like Xenoblade 3, and yeah, basically all the Xeno games, but especially 3 is like this super like it's a JRPG for JRPG fans. And Final Fantasy has always been a JRPG for regular gamers. Final Fantasy has always been the game that gets people into JRPGs. They've always been entry level. They've always been a little stripped back, even from like Final Fantasy 1 is stripped back from like Ultima and Wizardry and all the games, all the RPG games coming out in the West at the time, and all like the D&D stuff that Final Fantasy was inspired by. It's already stripped back. So I think there's no argument there. On the complete opposite side of the spectrum, we have the side quests in Tears of the Kingdom. Now, Tears of the Kingdom obviously has a lot more variety in gameplay. I mean, it's an open world game, one of the only good open world games in my eyes. More accurately, one of the only open world games that keeps me interested and facilitates me playing it with constant quests, constant things to do, goals to set. And so on and so forth, whereas other open world games haven't really grabbed me as much. The more sophisticated way of saying that, I suppose. Now in Tears, the side quests, obviously they give you more insight in the world, they give you insight into certain characters, but they're not super in-depth like that. It's mostly through gameplay. Like I did a side quest that was like a racetrack, and I had to build my own vehicle, and it was pretty cool, and it gives a shake up to gameplay. It gives you a reason to use your Ultra Hand, your Fuse abilities, stuff like that. Because with me, I mean, in Breath of the Wild, the fun of the game came from just walking around and seeing what was out there. Whereas now, since that game's old, and I already did that, that's not fun for me anymore. I need to be constantly questing. I need to be constantly moving towards a specific goal. And Tears of the Kingdom side quests just have like a lot of varied things, especially the side adventures, which are much more robust. Like you have the stable quest with Pen, and Pen is a very fun character. All of his interactions are very enjoyable. But you have quests like there's a fucking chicken god that people are asking questions to, and he's giving them like these answers, this like fortune telling thing, and he tells you to do his 3 trials within a time limit, and then you do them, and they're completely gameplay shakeups. Like they're not just the standard combat, they're not just the standard puzzles. And then at the end, it turns out to be the Yiga clan, and you gotta fight them off. But for me, it was raining, and there was lightnings at the time, so they were getting picked off by fucking God. Now, I think it's quite interesting, specifically how Zelda has evolved its quest design from the 3D Zeldas to the open world Zeldas, because really not much has actually changed. It's really just the context in which you do the quest. Because, let's say in Ocarina of Time, you know, your map's not that big. There's not that many places to actually explore, so they're a little less robust in what they will have you do or where they will have you go. Whereas in Tears of the Kingdom, they're not sending you across the map or anything, or sending you on a complete wild goose chase, but there's a little more to do. There's a lot more ways that you can go about solving each quest. Overall, you have more freedom, but it's also very similar in how you do things. It follows a very familiar structure. Now, I don't want to feel like I'm criticizing FF16 too much for being too samey, because really, they wanted to focus on a certain style of gameplay and make it the best they could do, and they did it. I think they could have gone farther with it, but they did it. And there's tons of other RPGs that have very standard quests of just fighting enemies and leveling up and getting new items. And like 16, all of these give you pretty important things That will add to your kit, add to your exploration, stuff like that. But some games just go above and beyond with their quests, and it's really cool to see. One game that comes to mind gets a lot of hate, but honestly, I think it's a fantastic game. That would be Kingdom Hearts 3. Kingdom Hearts 3, there was always something new to do. There was always like mini games. The gameplay was always switched up. It was varied. Like you had like the frozen snowboarding stuff. You had the whole Pirates of the Caribbean map that you could explore with the ship and stuff. There were ship battles. There was treasure you could find in each island. And even the gummy ship exploration, like each thing you needed to do to complete the game. Personally, I just went for the ultimate weapon, but in getting that, all the grinding, it was not the same thing over and over again. It was very varied. There's a lot of different styles of gameplay. There was a lot of little mini games associated with each gameplay, and they all kind of added to the general like fun of the game and the ideas and kind of the mindset of Sora, because he's a very upbeat guy, taking on these power-hungry darkness dwellers. And I think it really gets to the heart of how he views the world, whereas, like, he's not just gonna go fighting enemies for materials, or he's not just gonna go, like, mining in a cave. He's gonna do fun shit. Like, side quests are fun. Sometimes they can be annoying, but it's really up to the developers, and some games just have way too many fucking quests. Like, Xenoblade 1 has, like, an absurd amount of side quests. Anyone who's, like, completed that game is, like, a god to me, because, like, what the fuck, dude? I did like how speedy they were, though, and how you could just accept multiple at a time, just in a row, in the definitive edition that was. Then the quests in 2, since, it's not a definitive edition and it came out before Xenoblade 1 definitive, they were a lot more archaic and slow, and I didn't have fun with them, and I didn't do that many of them. But in Xenoblade 3, the quests are pretty good, and they have the hero quests as well, which are very well thought out. I do like that modern games are kind of stripping down the amount of side quests to try to give them more depth to them, and they certainly have. 16 is a great example of that, but 16 is also a great example of the gameplay becoming stale and the cutscenes in the side quests not being interesting. But it's certainly not a waste of time. It just takes a lot of time, I would say. All right, I think I wrapped up everything that I had to say about side quests. So, if you liked the video, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel, but also subscribe to the original Protagonist channel. That channel is where I do long-form analysis of a single game per episode, and I put a lot of thought and editing into it, so it takes a lot of time. So, please be sure to check out those videos as well, and subscribe, and be on the lookout for new uploads. I hope to get them out every month, but we will see about that. Could be a false promise. I'm trying over here. Anyways, have a good day. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.